Okay. So yes, thank you all for being here. Welcome to the MdC 4-H Club Leader Training, or Leader Training, really, because it's for Project Club Leaders. Anybody really can attend it. And like I said, I'm Carla Hightower. I'm the 4-H agent for the Marais District. And we're going to get through several things today. At any time, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask them, or you can put them in the chat and I will try to see them. Occasionally I get to talking and I forget to look at the chat, but usually somebody's good about reminding me. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, so my agenda for today is I want to talk about the Project Club Leader calendar. That is part of your notebook, and there's lots of things that are on it that you might need to know, some important deadlines. I also, if you do not have a Project Club Leader notebook, I do have those, and we'll talk a little bit more about those. I'd like to talk about enrollment, scholarships, which are coming due. We have a 4-H Thrive lesson as well, and 4-H presentation day, the MdC 4-H policy and guide. I kind of forgot that, but yes, we'll do that. And then requirements of clubs, so that you know what you have to do each year according to Kansas 4-H policy, and then upcoming events. So, well, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the Club Leader calendar, this is in your Club Leader notebook, or if you're on our Padlet app, you can actually see that Club Leader notebook too. The Club Leader notebook is also linked in our on our Club Leader page for our website. But some of the most important dates that I think are your January 15th for returning member enrollment. So those are members who were enrolled in your club last year. They have to be in by January 15th to show at either fair. So regardless of Miami County Fair or Lynn County Fair, you have to be enrolled by January 15th to be able to show in the 4-H divisions. Now, if something happens and somebody doesn't get enrolled by then, they can still show in open class, but they have to show, they have to be enrolled by January 15th, which is a long time because they've had since October 1st. One of the other things, just to remind people, is shooting sports requires that they have to be enrolled and approved before they can start doing any shooting sports. So the safety trainings and everything, which is you have to be enrolled for that. So if you have people who are new members, even doesn't matter if they're returning or new members, if they're interested in shooting sports, they need to get enrolled right away so that they can participate in those activities. May 1st is our new member enrollment to show at the fair. So that's just for any new members between January 15th and May 1st. And I would tell you to just encourage them to go ahead and get signed up. Come January, we will start only sending our newsletter out to the people who are enrolled in 4-H Online. And so nobody else will get their newsletter if they don't get enrolled. And the other thing is those new members, it's good for them to actually start learning about what opportunities we have. If they're not enrolled, they might not know about Club Day. And they really need to be enrolled before they participate in those things. So that's kind of where we're at on that. May 1st is also add or delete project deadlines. And just something to kind of tell you guys as club leaders that we seem to have a lot of problems with here in the Marais District is a lot of parents. I can't hear you. I shouldn't say a lot of parents. I've had several parents who have went in and enrolled their kids right at the January 15th deadline and only entered them in one project, and then forgot to go back and enter them in any other projects. So they're not allowed to show at the fair if they're not actually enrolled in those projects. So just encourage them to go ahead and take the time to input those projects as they enroll. But then the other thing is, if they want to add projects or delete them, just make sure that they remember to do that by May 1st. So that's an important deadline. Deleting projects is probably not as important as making sure you have added them and done what you needed to do for those. The next one is kind of just for horse, but it is a state deadline, so I included it on this list. June 1st is horse identification certificates are due. So if you have anybody who's showing horse or wanting to be in a horse club, or not horse club necessarily, we do have horse clubs, but if they're wanting to show horses at the fair, or at state events, they have to have a certificate that kind of basically says that's the horse they're using for our shows and for 4-H in the office by June 1st. That is a state deadline, and that's one of the reasons. I will be honest, livestock has a lot of different deadlines, and I did not put all of those there, but if they're wanting to go to State Fair or KJLS, which is the Kansas Junior Livestock Show, or they need to contact our office or look on our website. We do have a new youth livestock website that kind of hooks them to the Kansas, those different websites to see those when things are due, because they will have to nominate their animals ahead of time, and then they pre-enter their around that July 15th is for State Fair, August 15th for Kansas Junior Livestock Show, I believe. But anyway, there's a lot of deadlines with those livestock projects. So if you have a family who's wanting to maybe start and do some of those state shows, it's good for them to talk to somebody else and let us know so we can help them make sure that they have what they need and can get those deadlines in. Moving on, July 1st is our Miami County Fair deadline, pre-entry deadline. So this is when everyone that wants to be, that's in Miami County 4-H or open class and wants to show up at the Miami County Fair, you need to get your pre-entries in our system by July 1st. Our system usually goes live June 1st, and we're trying to have fair books out at least middle of May. Usually trying for the 1st of May, second Monday of May for those. And July 15th, for those of you in Lynn County, that's July 15th is when your fair pre-entries are due. So, and I think they're about the same thing. They open up about the middle of June, and you have until July 15th to get those in. And then just, I looked at the calendar, and it looks like it's going to be probably August 13th for our state fair pre-entries due. Those are non-livestock, non-horse. They would be like rabbits, poultry, and all the static exhibits, or what I call the indoor exhibits, like foods, photography, those type of things. And I do have August 1st down here as state fair horse pre-entry due, so that you kind of have that idea. Okay, moving on. So another deadline that's really important for our club leaders to know is our August 1st is when all our record books, pin applications, key awards, the I Dare You awards, and seal applications are due. So really October 1st is a big deadline for everything. It's the end of the 4-H year, and it's when everything is due. It's also when I would like to have your club leadership reports in. So that report is important because it tells us who your club leaders are, where you're meeting, when you're meeting, and also who your officers are. And that helps us with officer training. It also helps us for when we do a brochure that lists all of the clubs in the Marais District in Miami and Lynn counties. Are separate brochures for each county, but we turn those in and hand those out at different events, and people can take them and then try to find a club to join. So that's why we really need that report in by October 1st, so we can get those ready and have those ready to go and make sure. If for some reason you end up changing your meeting date or time, and I don't mean like just one-off where, maybe in December you do a special meeting or something like that. But if you during the school year or, during the year decide that, the second Tuesday of each month does not work any longer, we need to go to the fourth Thursday or something. Please let our office know so that we can correct it in that brochure, and you don't have new members new families that try to show up to your meeting spot and nobody's there. So that's an important thing. We also put one leader for each club on that brochure, and so new members might be calling you about that. So I just want to let you know, we usually put a phone number on there along with, like I said, where your club meets, when they meet, and some information like that. And then the most important deadline that we have all year long is our November 1st financial reviews are due. That is a state deadline. We are cracking down on that. I will be honest, I've been letting all of us be lax on that. But we need to start really cracking down, because all the money that's raised in the name of a 4-H club is actually, it's kind of a complicated system, but any money that is raised in a 4-H club is the responsibility of Kansas 4-H and K-State Extension. So, and the MdC District Board. So that's why that review is so important, is because we want to make sure that the money that you raised in the name of 4-H is being used how it's supposed to. And so you fill out that report. You have a committee that fills out the report that is different from your treasurer. They're not signatures on your account. They look for it. If they don't find, they don't find anything, it comes into us. We look over it. I have people who looks over it. If it's not me, it's my program manager, or I've had my PDC do it, or program development committee people do it, different people. And then it goes to my MdC board, and they actually have to approve it, and it has to be listed in their minutes. So that's why this is really important. We're trying to get this for the December 1st board meeting. And I will be honest, I have some clubs who are like, well, we can't get it to you till the 24th. And I'm like, I'm going to have a hard time getting that turned around for December 1st. So I just want you to know that next year, we're really going to have to be on top of it. We've got to get that November 1st financial reviews due there. If your club is turning in like a treasurer book to be judged with the officer books that are due October 1st, you need to make arrangements to do it before October 1st, or have copies of it so you can get that done, because we cannot keep waiting until after achievement nights to do these financial reviews. So I know that's a little bit of a hot topic, I guess, maybe for me, and I might have gotten a little bit worked up about it, but just to let you know, we've got to start doing that. We've got to do a better job here in the MdC District. Some of you guys are doing great, and I know that that's happening, but I have a lot that are struggling with that. So too many who are struggling with that, I should say. Not a lot, but too many. All right, I should have asked any questions about deadlines so far. Okay. All right, like I said, we have a club leader notebook that you can download. We have an online version that's a Padlet. It can be like on I actually have it on my phone, so I can see the club leader notebook on my smartphone. You can use it as a smartphone. You can put it on your desktop. You can get through it on you just have to have internet for the online version. So it's Padlet, and there's the kind of what should one call it? I should say the link, and there's a QR code too. I know some of you probably are on your phone to listening to this, so you can't really use the QR code, although some people have figured out how to do it. I just haven't yet. So, but it is full of different things. It has a little bit more information about some different events that happen throughout the year for the MdC in its club leader calendar. There's job descriptions. So if you kind of want to know what your job is as club leader, that's out there. There's lots of information on community service, all of the forms that you have to fill out. All of those things are out there on that website. You can also get a print version. We have them in notebooks. We do have to make them up because we're kind of doing a print as demand, because we had a bunch of them there, but we weren't using them, and we actually have given them all out. So now it's just we're doing them as you ask for them. So you can contact me or the payroll office. We'll get you one ready, and then we'll get it to you. And if you're in the, if it's easier for you to pick up from Mound City office, we'll get it down there for you to pick up either way. But if you're looking for a print version, please let me know, and we'll try to do that. The one thing is, we do update things occasionally. So if you've got a print version, you might have to print something off and update, like the seal application or records books, or some of the, our different deadlines, that type of thing. So just to be aware that if you have one of those older books, you might want to make sure that you have the correct version of some of those documents, or the best one to have to make sure you've updated is your MdC 4-H guide and policy. So that kind of tells you what all our rules are and what defines like what a member is, how to change clubs, different things like that, raising money in the name of 4-H, all of those things, and has most of our deadlines there too. So, okay. With that, I'm going to continue. Enrollment. We kind of already talked about this, but returning members, it must be by January 15th. New members by May 1st, added elite projects by May 1st. But one of the things that I was talking to a leader the other day, and her kids are about that 14, 15, and she was asking me about leadership and what the leadership project is. So I kind of want to get that out to you. It kind of reminded me that I probably have not done a good job at this, but it is important that we encourage our members who are 12 or 13 and older to enroll in the leadership project. The leadership project is not necessarily, it's a good project, and you're building a lot of skills. You kind of do it in 4-H anyway. You're doing it in your club meetings. You're teaching them those skills and everything. They're doing it through officer training, different things like that, leadership teams. But the one thing that there's not really a place where you can exhibit at the fair. You can do it in miscellaneous in the Miami County Fair. And I think Lynn County has self-determined where you could do a poster or a notebook about your leadership opportunities. But the main thing is it is requirement for a lot of our pins as you get up in age. So like the leadership pin, you have to be enrolled in leadership. When you get to be, if you want to go for the Key Award, you have to have been in the leadership project for 3 or 4 years. The I Dare You Award, I don't think it requires it, but those gold and gold guard, I think, do require it. So it's just really important that we encourage our members who are 12 to 13 and older to be in that leadership project. And like I said, the learning that's happening to it is just kind of happening anyway. They're just not enrolled in the project. And that's what we really need to encourage, because they're getting that leadership through your club meetings, through helping younger 4-H members, all of those things. They're just not enrolling in the project. So any questions on that? Okay.
Actually, I will ask one question on that. So how does leadership team play into that?
Well, leadership teams in our club, and it's a way of actually developing more leadership skills. So it does, it's a great opportunity for those who are 6th grade and older to do a leadership team. You meet kids from across the county. We have one in both counties. I'm not sure when Lynn County's is meeting right now because they were kind of reorganizing. But it's where they learn how to plan. They learn leadership. We do kind of do some of those because I will do lessons occasionally on them. It's a great opportunity. So it's another learning opportunity that you can have in the leadership project is basically how it goes. I would encourage anyone who's on leadership team to enroll in the leadership project. And I probably need to do that a little bit better myself when we're there on that.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
No problem. Any other questions on that? Okay. All right. Scholarships. And I just realized that I forgot a slide, but that's okay. Miami County 4-H Foundation scholarship apps for seniors in high school. So if you have any seniors, but it's really important that we start letting people know because the app itself requires that kind of what you've done for the last 4 years. So this is where your permanent record and your PIN applications come into play, because those can be your records. Keep those year after year, and you can go back to them and see when you're applying for scholarships. They are due January 13th. They have a lot of money. You can kind of see all of the different scholarships that we can give. Some of them are Miami County only. One is Lynn County only. There's a couple who are, there's several who are district now. So there's a lot of money out there. Probably not a lot when you consider what college costs, but there's quite a bit of money here sitting on this slide for seniors to get. So I would just encourage you, if you know a senior, encourage them to apply. Here's the thing. I'm not going to say it's going to happen forever, but so far, we always give some money to all of our seniors. I'm not going to say they're going to get a huge amount. It might only be $250 or $200, but that helps. And so it's important that they do that. If they ask you as club leaders for a letter of reference, please go ahead and do that and make sure you get that in for them so that they can get these scholarships. The other thing, the slide that I forgot to make today was on this is the Kansas 4-H scholarship. You can also apply for the Kansas 4-H scholarship. They do want you to be a little bit more involved at the county, district, or even state level. So, but you can go ahead and apply. And those are for seniors in high school sometimes, and they can actually reapply for those when they're in college as well. So, but those are actually due January 5th this year. It's an online application, and it is available there on the kansas4h.org website. So just be thinking about that. That is due by January 5th this year. And I think in the past, it's been like March 1st. So that is quite a jump up for our seniors or college kids who might be interested in applying for those scholarships. So, one other thing I didn't mention, I forgot, but the scholarships here from the Miami County 4-H Foundation do have the ones that are listed out that do not say general scholarship. Those are what we call endowed scholarships. So that means a family or a group gave us money to say, hey, we want to provide a scholarship. So they kind of pick. That's why we have some of those that say Miami or some that say Lim, because they kind of pick which group they want to give to, and they kind of set some standards for it. So those have a little bit different standards than our general scholarships on that. Excuse me. And the other thing I want to say on here is I will be doing trips and awards at the January 13th 4-H Council meeting. Trips and awards is our for Miami County, and they're usually an award committee of some kind for Lynn County. And they're the ones to get together and kind of decide who gets what money for scholarships. So you guys, you kind of rank. We do a point system basically with scholarships, and then the essays and the other parts of it, that committee kind of ranks and gives them scores, and then gives them scores, and then we kind of rank the kids and see which one scholarships we do. Every club can have one representative on the Miami County Trips and Awards Committee, and you need to not be a person who has a senior. So it can't be, if you have a senior who's applying, you can't be on the awards committee. So, if you need to, it doesn't have to be a club leader. It can be. It can be somebody else. It's a great opportunity for some parents of maybe freshmen or sophomores to kind of get an idea of what the scholarship app looks like and what things to be put on it and that type of thing. So it's a great opportunity for some of those parents who have younger members to also step up. So, okay. Any questions about scholarships? Okay. All right. Some of you are new and some of you have been around, but 4-H is, sorry. 4-H is special in youth development programming because we are land grant based, extension based, university based youth development. So that means we have research behind all of the things we do with our 4-H. We don't just have projects because kids want to learn about these things. We have projects because we want to make sure that research has shown that kids need sparks. They need something that they're passionate about, that they want to be want to learn more about, those type of things. We have clubs because kids need belonging. They need to know that they belong in a group of people, and that's where we get the clubs and we get those relationships are important. That's where caring adults, come into play, and other mentors, older kids and younger youth, all of those things in 4-H. Engagement, we do things to engage our youth and engage, it's parents and families working together to help everyone. So that's kind of where that comes from. And this is the 4-H Thrive model. So this is our latest, basically, research based on what 4-H is and why what we do actually matters. And so we've been talking about this for about a year and a half now. We've kind of covered sparks and everything on that. Like I said, sparks are kind of those things that make you excited, make you want to do things, make you feel passionate, learn more about things, different things. And, sparks can be a lot of different things. They can be the projects. They could be maybe just, they could even be relationships. Maybe your spark is meeting people, new people, different things. It's just what makes you feel good and makes the kids feel good about themselves and everything. So that's kind of on the flower model of our 4-H Thrive. The development of context, that's where our sparks come, our belonging, our relationships, our engagement. So that's why it's important to have project leaders and club leaders. It's why, we do everything. We hope that by doing those things, our 4-H members will grow. And as they grow, they will do the rest of the things. So they will do youth thriving. So if we do sparks, belonging, relationships, engagement, so we have good soil basically for our flower to grow and our youth to grow, then they hopefully will develop a growth mindset. They'll be open to challenge and discovery. They will think they have a hopeful purpose in life. They will be pro-socially oriented, so they'll be willing to be social and engage with others. Transcendent awareness, which is always a hard one for me because I always forget, but it's kind of making sure that you're aware of the different things out in the world and what's happening. You have positive emotions and you know how to actually deal with your emotions. And goal setting and management, which I think is what 4-H has always thrived on in my mind. And as they grow in those, those are kind of our younger members. As our younger members get even, turn into teens and start becoming more leaders and be that leadership project or that leadership team, we hope that they actually develop the other developmental outcomes of positive academic attitudes. So, they want to excel in school. They try their best. They do what they can to do. They have social competence. They know how to interact with different ages and know how to, command a room or be in front of a room, or they know how to take a step back and let other people lead as well, because that's a skill as well. They have personal standards. They have goals that they want to meet. They have a connection with others. They take personal responsibility and they contribute to everything. And then we hope by the end, when they've all grown up and become adults or 4-H, we hope that they're having academic or vocational success. They're civically engaged. Their employability and economic they're employable and they have economic stability and the happiness and well-being. So this is kind of what, we are trying to do in 4-H. And this is what the research says, that if we do all these things, all that soil, the developmental context really well, these are the long-term outcomes we can expect. So that's kind of where you guys come in as club leaders, because I can do things on my workshops and kind of do those, developmental contexts, but you guys are the ones that are really doing them in your clubs. And just, kind of think about that as you're planning club activities, think about your kids' sparks, maybe ask them about them. Think about, making sure that every kid feels and family feels like they belong in your club. Reach out to those kids that are maybe quieter and shy, or have another one of your leaders or 4-H, 4-H kids or officers or something, reach out to them. Make sure that you're having those relationships within your club and you're a positive model. Their positive role models are happening. And then, making sure that you're doing some engagement, making sure you're having educational activities, and all those things. So that's kind of where we're at with the Thrive. I'm going to talk about it on every one of our club leader trainings this year. So you're going to probably be tired of me talking about 4-H Thrive, but it is important, and it's really, it's a good way to know there's reasoning behind what we do, and to know the reasoning sometimes helps us as well, because we can do better programming because of it. So you can have a better club program if you understand why we do those things and why they happen the way they do. And if you have questions about something, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be glad to talk with you. I'm not an expert on this either. I just I've had several trainings in it now, but it's not like I'm an expert, but I'd be glad to try to help you. And if I can't answer your question or find it, I will find somebody who can help me. So that's the way we work in 4-H. If you don't know the answer, we just keep looking until we find it. So, any questions on that? Okay. All right, 4-H presentation day. We have the date set. It's February 21st. Our next newsletter will be coming out, I think, on December 1st. It'll have a save the date in there. I was at a regional presentation day meeting today, and we updated some guidelines and some of our guidelines and contests, and they will be available on our website. There's not, the updates that we did was mainly, clarifying some rules and stuff. So there's not a lot of updates, unlike last year where we updated everything, the entire guide. So, but those are all available. We have lots of different contests. Please encourage your kids to do it. It's a great way. If they don't have a lot of time but can be there that day, they can do impromptu, where they don't have to actually prepare a speech ahead of time. They draw 3 topics, decide a topic, and have 5 minutes to prepare the speech right then and there. We have project talks, we have demonstrations, we have illustrated talks. We have lots of different things that you can do for presentation day. You can do drama, you can do dance. There's a wide variety, gavel games, parliamentary procedure things like model meetings. So if your club's interested in doing something, feel free to do it as a club, but also encourage your kids to do things on their own, because it's really a great opportunity for our youth to get in front of different audiences and get some feedback on how they can improve and what they do really well when they're in front of audiences. So, like I said, we have something for everyone, music, different things like that. I'd like to see it start growing. We've been kind of in a downward turn where we keep getting less people. I'm hoping that we're about ready to start moving back up with that. So, because it is a great opportunity for our youth to grow, and goes right along with that 4-H thriving model. Registration will be coming in January. I think it'll be due about February 2nd. Don't hold me to that. It could change a little bit as we look at schedules. But that's kind of the thought right now. And regional day, I do not have a date for it yet. I will let you guys know. I will try to get something out that first part of January so you guys have an idea when it is. But we're looking at sometime in March if we can get a school. So, all right. So kind of going along with, we were talking about policy and everything, and we were talking about 4-H Thrive. So Kansas 4-H policy has basically tells you what you need to have to be a 4-H community or project club. And these are the minimum standards you must meet. So if you are a 4-H community or a 4-H project club, your structure is intended to be flexible. So you don't have to have a sit down, have a meeting every single time. You need to do it if you have business to discuss, or you need to decide on things, if you need votes and that type of thing. But you don't have to do it every time. But you still have to do a few things. There are things you have to do to be a club. So these are one things. You have to have adult volunteer leaders, and all clubs have to be led and advised by 2 or more screened and board approved adult volunteers. So if you're a club leader and you have not been through that, you should be looking for Tracy Lindsay to send you an email that says you need to have, this is the steps you need to find. It is a multi-step process. So you're going to have to go into 4-H Online and enroll in 4-H Online. You're going to have to go to a different website that we will send you and fill out a background check. Once the background checks comes back, and if it's clear, we will approve you in 4-H Online. And then you are, and then you have to be actually go through an orientation through 4-H Online. So they're just like modules, doesn't take a long time. Once that is done, I actually take you to my MdC Extension Board and we approve you as a volunteer. So it is multi-layered. It's going to take a little bit of time. We seem to be having a little bit of confusion. It's getting better, but we seem to be having confusion over, they think if they enroll in 4-H Online, they don't have to do anything else. That's all they have to do. So we're not getting background checks done. And we've got to make sure that people understand that it's multi-step. You don't just enroll in 4-H Online. You have to do the background check and enroll in 4-H Online. So if you know volunteers, or if you're yourself a leader and you don't know your status or want to know your status, please let us know. We can help you with that. If you have anybody that you want to be a adult volunteer, please, send them our way. We'll get them through the process as best we can. But yeah, that is an important part. The other thing is, even though you have to have at least 2, I would encourage all clubs to have more, because when we say you have to have 2, that means those 2 have to be at every club function, meeting, if you're doing a community service, anything like that, those 2 volunteers would have to be there, because you have to have 2 volunteers at all of those things. So if you can get, even if they're not your club leaders, and you don't have give them that title, if you can get them a couple more more volunteers, adults, to go through our process, then they can be that second person at some of those events, and you're not having to be at everything. Or if one of you is sick at a club leader, if you only have 2 and at a club meeting, you really are supposed to have another adult at that club meeting. So it's our 2 deep leadership. We want to make sure there's always 2 adults at most of things. And so that's really important that you have that. The other thing is, they're not actually, like, if you actually go up to the city and do carpooling and that kind of stuff, all of our adult drivers, you can't have kids driving, and all the adults have to be volunteer screened as well. So that's another thing to think about when you're doing that. It doesn't hurt to have more volunteers screened than what you need. It's actually a good thing. Moving on, 5 members and from 3 families. So you have to enroll at least 5 youth members from at least 3 different families. If your club is not meeting that, we're going to have a discussion and we'll have to talk about it. And I had to combine some clubs, a couple last year, because they'd not met these expectations for a couple years, and we had to get them together. You want to make sure that your club emphasizes project exploration, leadership, and civic engagement. So those are kind of our emphasis for our clubs. You want to have a minimum of 6. So this is the minimum. You conduct a minimum of 6 regular educational experiences per year. So educational experiences can be a club meeting, but they can also be a tour or a community service project. They could be doing a project. So maybe maybe you talk to your kids about their sparks and you figured out that they were really into photography and you decided to have a photography workshop for a club instead of a club meeting. That's okay. You just have to have at least 6. Clubs that are doing really well have 9 to 12. So you can miss a couple of meetings. I'm not saying you can't, but I do want you to have at least 9 really educational experiences per year. Because if you have less than that, people forget when your club meetings are and when you're doing things. So it's really important. And it's helping our education of our youth and making sure that they have that chance to feel like they belong and do those things. Youth leaders. You have democratically elected youth leaders to provide direction to the club with shared youth leadership opportunities and shared decision making and agreed upon rules or bylaws. So, this is where, you have officers, and it's not just you saying, this is the way we're going to run the club. Our youth have a voice in their club and what they want to do and how the club runs. And that's an important part of it. So that's kind of where that comes from. One of the things I do need to say really quickly is that if you updated your bylaws, please give me a copy of them, because I keep a copy of bylaws in my office for every club. And it's important that I keep that. Part of that is sometimes you go on and bylaws get lost, and maybe a club leader didn't realize they needed to keep it, or something happened. And so it's just important that I have a thing. The other thing is, that way, if somebody questions it, I can also go back to your bylaws and say, well, hey, it's in your bylaws that this is what you're supposed to have done. So that's just a good reason. So if you have updated your bylaws, if you haven't looked at them for a while, I would definitely look at them. If you can't find them, let me know and I will try to get you a copy. Hopefully I have them. I have most of them, but there's occasions, even though I ask for them, that I don't get them. So, but please give me any bylaw changes that you have. And then you have to have a 4-H charter. And to have a 4-H charter, that means you're keeping meeting, project, and financial records. You're submitting your required reports. So that means that financial review report, the club leaders, I think I call it club leadership report, or, the organizational report, whatever you want to call it, but that, your officers, when you're meeting, that type of thing. And you're also following state and local 4-H policy. So those are really important. If you want the state policy, I can give it to you. It's a long document, I will be honest, but I do. It's also available on the state website, but it is 70 pages. So most of you probably don't really want to know what everything says. You just want me to be able to tell you if you need it. But if you want to look over something or find something, for sure, it's out there for anybody to see, under Kansas 4-H and then under resources. So that, and then we also have what we call sorry, I got to find it real quick. Yeah, I'm not finding. We have a MdC 4-H page. So it has, so we have, oh, there it is. We have an MdC 4-H family guide and policy. I sent that out in October. As you enroll in 4-H, you get another copy of it. And it's really good for you as club leaders to have a copy as well. I am going to stop sharing this real quick and share that. So as you can see, it's just a document. It is, we kind of have a table of contents. There's some things you probably don't need to know, or some things you probably already know as club leaders, but it tells you about club membership. It has our deadlines of May 1st and January 15th. It has about the membership fee. We talk about projects, what they are. We also talk about adding and deleting projects, your 4-H age, if you're wanting to do independent study, how you go about doing that. If you want to transfer membership between clubs, because that seems to be a commonly asked question, how you go about doing that. We also talk about residents. It has livestock project and requirements and deadlines. That's really important because that tells you when you have to have everything tagged by, all of those things. YQCA trainings, which will be coming up here in the spring. It has animal project requirements, so those things for horse, dog care and training, rabbits, poultry, and doves. We talk about dual enrollment with 4-H and FFA, because sometimes we get questions as kids get older that, some of their projects overlap. They might be taking the same, it's not really a project in FFA, but it's an SAE. They'll talk, or they're, supervised ag experience. So they might be taking the same things, but you can't like show the same animal. It has to be different. And there's some different guidelines that Kansas 4-H and Kansas FFA have developed for that. So those are there. Your shooting sports project requirements are in there. We talk about participation, fundraising, collecting donations for your club, our expectations of parents and members. So, what a 4-H presentations, what they are, what's a project talk, what's a demonstration, illustrated talk, public speaking. We have our grievance policy and procedure in there, kind of the district-wide cancellation policy due to weather, and our volunteer policy. So, and then there's a list of kind of events by month, although those do change some and all of them have dates, but it kind of tells you what all you can do throughout the year. So it isn't very important. I would encourage, we update them every year. I'm not going to say it's perfect because there's probably mistakes in there, but I would encourage you to encourage all of your families to look at that when they get it. And you as a club leader, it'll be a valuable resource to you as well. Okay. Any questions on the minimum standards or the policy guides that I just talked about? Okay. All right, I'm moving on. All right, we are into upcoming events, so we are almost done. So upcoming events, we have mood board collages workshop that is happening December 22nd. You basically are picking a room, 2 contrasting moods from a list of moods that I have that is available from the state, and you start designing. And you're basically making, as you can tell, I did bedrooms in my examples, and I have a futuristic versus vintage. Those were my 2 moods. So I did kind of had similar things. They have a room, and what would you put in there? You have lighting, that type of thing. So we're going to talk about that. That's part of the interior design and architecture project. They've changed that name on me, and I'm still going to go back to the old one for probably several years yet. So that is kind of that. So you can basically take the mood boards that you are going to design at this workshop, and that can be your project, and you actually can take it to fair and on to state fair as well, if you get a purple at the fair. But so that's kind of what that is. It's a free workshop. I have it from 9:30 to 11 in the Paola office, and then I'm turning around and doing the same thing at 1:30 to 3 in the Mountain City office. So that one's that one. The next day, we are doing a pie workshop. So it is $20, although I might have just gotten some funds last night to help pay for some of that. So I might be able to give some refunds or do it. But we're going to talk about pies. We're going to talk about different crust. We're going to do some experiments with the crust of the pie, and you choose some fillings, and then we have a pizza lunch, and they're actually going to get a small pie. I haven't decided what size. I've got to see kind of how much money it all takes, but to take home that day that they can make. So we're going to do some, like I said, some crust experiments, learn more about pie making, how you can make a pie, what makes a good pie. We will probably talk about some food safety and some pies that you can't take to the fair, different things like that. But you will get to come home with a pie for yourself or your family, or because it might be a small pie. It's going to be a small pie. It's not going to be very large, but we'll see how it goes. So those both of those things need to be in by December 15th. So, and we have limited space on both of them. And then the other thing I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about was the Miami County Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge. So I know I've been doing 4-H entrepreneurs for a little bit. Now we're talking more of this is a challenge that you can earn some good money. So if you have a 6 through 12th graders who maybe would like to kind of design a business, it can be a business concept or a real business. It can be either one. They write like an executive summary, which is kind of a short business plan. they have a formal presentation, which is basically on their business, or on their executive summary, kind of going over what all's in the executive summary. We also have a trade show, although it's not 90 minutes event, but it's going to be a 60-minute event. But where they have a booth, a table, and they set up, and they can get free samples out if it's a business, or maybe a handout about their concept. They can have a trifold poster about it, or any kind of presentation. I've seen some that had basically a PowerPoint or a slideshow going, video going on it, that type of thing. And it's a lot, I hope it's going to be good. It's the first time we've had it in Miami County. Lynn County's been doing it for a while, but our 4-Hers are eligible to do it. I know it's during school, but if you know of homeschool who wants to do it, or, really anybody, I think most schools will let them out for something like that. I have contacted schools. Some classes might be doing it. If you need more information, we have a website set up under our 4-H MdC under 4-H Youth Development that has some guides, tells you more about the executive summary, the formal presentation, the trade show. It kind of has a workbook there that you can kind of go through, and it'll help you decide on your business and kind of go through that. But it's a lot of things, and you can rent up to $750 on that. And the other thing is, if you're just wanting to kind of see what it is, anybody can come in from noon to 1 and visit the trade show, and we actually have the public voting on their best trade show booth. So, and that person will get another $250. So it's a good event, and hopefully you all, so if you know anybody, please encourage them. If your kids are interested, please let me know. I'd be glad to help you. If I have some interest and I need to do some classes, we can do some. But it is February 4th, and you have to have registration. You have to have it in by January 23rd. So that is that. All right. Any questions or anything else that you guys want to discuss?
No, but that's great information. Thanks.
Okay.
Just let me know somebody's out there.
Yep. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right.
Thanks, Carla.
Thank you all. Thanks for all you do. I appreciate it. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't do nearly what we do in the MdC District without all of our volunteers. And you guys do a wonderful job with our clubs, and I do appreciate it. So thank you all. And if you have questions at any time, feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help. So have a good night.
Thanks, Carla.
Thanks. Have a good night.